Tribal Health and Human Services Department of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes is proud to present Good Medicine, a program dedicated to the wellness of the Flathead Nation. The mission is summarized quite simply: a healthier people, a stronger nation. We will strive to make good medicine a reliable source of ideas and information about health issues so that everyone can make informed decisions about their own lifestyle and health care. You will meet health professionals, tribal government and spiritual leaders, and interesting people from the tribal community discussing important health issues that profoundly affect us all.
Hello, this is Good Medicine. I'm your host, Larry Pitts. Today I have another distinguished guest as always. I've got Monty Garnett. He's the acupuncturist from the Medicine Tree in St. Ignatius. And Monty, first of all, I want to thank you for coming aboard.
Thank you. I sure appreciate being here.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of good information today. And Monty, is there anybody in the family you'd like to say hello to?
Yeah, I'd like to say hi to my wife and Camus, our 2-year-old, and the 2 girls, Addie and Kelsey.
Hello, girls, and Camus. All right. Monty, acupuncture.
Yes.
Sticking needles in your body. Sounds scary.
Yeah, it does. It scared the living daylights out of me at first. I had no idea what I was getting into. But I found it to be an incredible mode for helping people get well from injuries and all kinds of problems. And believe it or not, it's painless.
Well, I've had it done, so I believe you. So, can you explain about what you do as far as acupuncture goes?
Okay. Well, I bring someone in, and the first thing I do is I listen to them. I have them tell me what's going on, and then I ask a series of questions about their body and how it functions, because I want to get a good idea of how their body functions and emotionally where they're coming from too, because the Chinese, they didn't separate the emotions from how it affected their body and vice versa. So that all plays a role. And then after feeling pulses, the radial pulse, we get a good idea how strong the beat is and how much blood goes through the arteries and how much tension's on the artery and things like that. And looking at the tongue and asking about things like bowel movements, and that gives an idea of the digestive system and how it works. And we get a good idea where that person's body's coming from, and then we can help utilize the strengths in the body to help focus that energy and that circulatory system towards where there's weaknesses, injuries, or even illnesses.
So what I'm hearing is you're talking balance. You're trying to bring something that's maybe too strong, something that's too weak,
right.
You bring them into a balance. Is that what I'm hearing?
For diseases, yes. For injuries, no. For injuries, we work right on the problem and get that problem straightened out. If someone comes in with sciatica, I'm going to get all that information to know how strong or weak or what I can use in a person, but I'm going to really work on opening up the circulation, say in sciatic pain, to actually clear out that pain and get that part of the body to focus on healing itself.
Well, I have sort of an interesting story. I was a senior in high school and I broke my wrist. They didn't know it. They x-rayed and didn't find the break, and so
it's easy to do.
It was taped like a cast, and season went off, and that summer I was working in a sawmill. Wrist started swelling. I went to an old Chinese acupuncturist up in Calgary named King Lee.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him.
And he says he could help me in 2 treatments. And I walked away doing fingertip push-ups for the first time in 6 months. So I guess I can see the value there. So
it's an amazing, and when I first studied acupuncture, I didn't know that much about it. I thought, well, I can help people get well and I can stick needles in them. I didn't know anything about it, but after the first year or so of study, that's when I started being amazed at the art behind it and the amazing amount of theory and diagnostic skills that go into doing it.
Something maybe we can sort of break down too. When you're saying the art behind it, you're not talking a religion, you're talking about there's actual practical things. I mean, some people get scared.
Oh, it has nothing to do with religion. It has to do more with, well, what am I feeling here when I touch this? How thick is that artery? How much pressure's on it? What am I feeling in the strength of the artery? How do I insert the needle so that it doesn't hurt, so it's very smooth? The art and the skill of being a good practitioner, to touching in, to feeling how tense the skin is in the muscle and to feel in where the areas of weakness and strength are and stuff. And that's what I mean by art.
See, that's great. I mean, I appreciate that. How old is acupuncture?
Oh, there's different figures on how old it is. The first writings were probably about 1,500 years before the birth of Christ.
And how was it developed? I mean,
well, you know, my theory is, there's several theories. I've heard the one where they say, well, a guy got stuck with an arrow in his jaw quit hurting or whatever.
That's right.
But I think where it started was with massage. And they started finding out that, say, someone had jaw or ear pain, and if they massaged through here, they found it was sore. And if they worked out the soreness, it tended to help the jaw pain. And so they thought, there must be some link. And after time and skill and development of these skills and sensitivities, they started learning the patterns and pathways of circulation in the body.
how does acupuncture work? I mean, you know, you're talking about pathways, and what are those?
Well, I've got a poster here.
Cool.
and so there's a system of pathways in the body, and most of the acupuncture points are along these different pathways. And the one where I was just pressing on your arm goes through here, and it's a line that goes right up through the back of the jaw also. And so if you were to take something that measures resistance of electrical current, and you were to put it between this point and this point here, and then figure out how many ohms of resistance were there, and then move over the same distance that isn't on a meridian and run the resistance, you'd find much less resistance along where the acupuncture points were. It would actually physically show less resistance of electrical flow between those 2 points. So it kind of gives you an idea that there's already a pathway that can be annotated along those lines in the body. And that's true of any 2 acupuncture points anywhere on the body. You could run resistance between them and find less resistance. So that kind of gives you an idea that there's some circulatory flow happening in there.
So if there's a problem, then there would be a blockage in that pathway.
Exactly.
What is the blockage?
The blockage could be a blow. If someone hits you
Acute
there,
injury.
you're going to cause a blockage. Another thing could be that you've gotten weak and there's not enough circulation happening through there, and everybody has weak links. And so if you have less energy flowing through your whole body, those weak links are where it's going to show up the most. Or it could be emotions out of control. Say you're very angry and upset all the time. Being angry and upset is going to disturb that flow also. So emotions that get out of control, or from chemical use like painkillers or drugs over time, can also, not only do they block the pain, but they would block certain flows of circulation in the body.
So it goes back to that if you're not healthy physically, mentally, and spiritually, your body can never be totally healthy.
Yeah, I don't see how you could separate any one of those 3 figures.
Yeah, because they all work.
They all work in harmony and synchronicity.
Harmony sounds like a song. Does acupuncture hurt?
No. In fact, I brought needles today to demonstrate on people what it's like, and I'd like to test it on you.
Anytime you want to do it. Want to do it now?
Sure.
Let's do it now.
Okay.
All right.
And just for general knowledge, the needles that I use are always sterile, disposable, so there's no problem with that needle ever touching another human body.
Because I am immune suppressed, so.
Okay, so I'm just going to, what I normally do is use an alcohol wipe and just wipe off the area I'm going to do just to make sure the skin's clean and stuff. And it's nice if we let that dry out, because if we do penetrate the skin, alcohol's not fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
More ways than not one. It's
Okay.
not fun.
I use a disposable needle, and here's what they look like. They're very thin. This is about a 35 gauge needle. I never touch the shaft of the needle. I try to keep it totally sterile.
Looks like a piano string.
Yeah, it's just fine as a hair. And the idea about a needle like this is it parts the skin. It doesn't cut a hole like a hypodermic needle. A hypodermic needle cuts a hole to draw fluids in or out. This kind of just parts the tissue as it goes in. Very seldom do I even get a drop of blood when I pull it back out, because the skin kind of comes back together as we pull it out.
So when I had the mole cut off yesterday, it's not going to be like that, right?
You know, and the funny thing is, when needles get stuck in people, by opening up that circulation, it really helps like a muscle in spasm or something. It just helps that to relax because it creates a little stimulation, brings more blood there, and helps the muscle to relax. So basically, I put it over a point like that, give it a little tap, knock it through the skin, then I work it into the desired depth. Now, how did that feel?
Well, I can't even tell it's in there.
Yeah. And it didn't even hurt going in?
No, I mean, I can say, ouch! No.
Just the slightest pricking?
No, there was none. There was none.
Okay, so I must be getting a little better at this. Because when I first started, you know, I worked on my friend of mine.
Yes.
And I feel sorry for her because it took me a while to get the skill to become good at this.
How long have you been doing it?
About 5 years in November I've been licensed in the state of Montana.
Wow. Yeah, there was no pain. If the camera could pick it up at all, you didn't see my hand jump. You know, there was no reflex.
And then once I stick a needle in someone, I have to dispose of it in a proper container.
Which are the red?
Right, Sharps container.
Sharps containers.
Right.
For
right now, I'm going to set it right here.
All right. Yeah, there was no pain. As I said, you know, I didn't jump, squirms, kick. Now my daughter would see that, she'd probably run. But
well, you know, a lot of times I'll work on people and like their kids will come in or something and they're just like, whoa, whoa. And I'll talk to them and visit with them and say, you want me to try one on you? And Mom says, yeah, try it out. And so, you know, if they're into it, we'll say, and they'll go, wow, that doesn't hurt at all. And then they'll tell their friends, I got acupuncture.
Well, maybe we could teach our nurses how to do this with injections. Why would you stick a needle in somebody's leg or their elbow for a migraine headache?
Well, it's back to these flows again and these meridians. And lately I've had incredible success with migraines. And for instance, like sometimes a headache will start shoulders, neck, back of the head and come around one side or both sides to the other. And the pathways for that a lot of times will be a gallbladder meridian, which you can't see on this, but it runs down the side of the legs and it goes right in here in the back of the neck. And they're not showing the gallbladder meridian on this chart because it comes more from the side, runs into this area and comes around the side of the head. So I do points for that. And the idea is to open up circulation and to let that whole area relax. And a lot of times there's a tension buildup that goes along with this. And it's amazing how the acupuncture can be used to relieve the stress and the anxiety in the body and help a person center back in on themselves again. And it's something that's hard to explain the experience of it, but it's very effective at doing. And
how many treatments does it take to work with like a migraine headache?
Well,
I mean, acutely, you like to do
acutely, if someone comes in with a migraine, a lot of times they'll walk out totally without it.
Okay.
But to break the pattern of the migraines coming can take anywhere from 3 to 5 treatments to, depending if there have been really long-term headaches, it can take a year. But a year of maybe treatment every week in the beginning and then gradually working it out to a month or more.
Okay, because there's somebody out there right now who's been having migraines and they're at their wit's end.
Right.
And they're saying, now what's the number? How do I get hold of this man? Let's hit that number right now. Okay,
I'm at the Medicine Tree and the number there is 745-3600. And you can make an appointment with me.
Okay, so 745-3600, the Medicine Tree. Make an appointment with Monty Garnett. And what are your hours?
I'm there from 9 to 5 approximately, Monday through Thursday.
Okay, so you're like a banker 4 days a week.
Yeah, but I can most often work people in, especially in an emergency situation. I do my best to get people worked in, and if they have any trouble getting an appointment, ask to speak to me, and I'll work them in the best I can.
Okay. Well, now there's somebody else out there going, yeah, but I just saw him stick a needle in somebody. I know he said he threw it away, but how do I know that? What about hepatitis? What about AIDS? You know, what about transmitting these blood-borne diseases?
Well, there's never been an annotated case of acupuncture being carried, or these diseases carried by an acupuncture needle. And everybody in this state who's an acupuncturist has been trained specifically to be aware of those diseases and make sure they're not transmitted. Everybody in the state who's an acupuncturist is licensed through the Montana Board of Medical Examiners, the same examining department in the state that handles medical doctors. And we really are professional about how we deal with these things.
What are those standards?
There's a clean needle technique, review, and testing before we become acupuncturists. Acupuncturists have to do a minimum of a 3-year school in the state of Montana. That 3-year school, and then afterwards there's a national exam, which is about a long exam where you spend a whole day testing.
Long and tedious.
And after the exam, then fingerprint check with the FBI and the whole rigmarole to make sure you're who you say you are, and have had no problems in the past with the law and all that sort of thing.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is you said everybody, but we know that there's always people outside those things. But if they have the seal of approval from the state of Montana, they carry the license, which I'm sure you have exposed.
Yeah, and you know, for anyone legally to stick a needle in anybody or call themselves an acupuncturist has to fit all this criteria, otherwise they're breaking the law.
Yep. Okay.
Either that or they're a medical doctor or nurse doing something else.
Right.
And, you know.
How many acupuncturists are there in the state of Montana?
I would guess not over 50
Okay.
at this time, close to 50 in the state.
So it would average out 1 per county, basically.
Yeah. But it's growing in the state quite rapidly.
I'm sure it is, you know. Are there many MDs and nurses, RNs going into acupuncture in these days? Or?
There are a few. Don Beans, who's at the Medicine Tree, also is a RN. And he does acupuncture also, as well as homeopathy. And not a whole lot are going towards that because the requirements in this state is that a doctor fulfill all the same requirements as an acupuncturist in order to be certified as an acupuncturist in this state. So that's a lot to take on top of being a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
And very few doctors are going for that right now. But gosh, I give a lot of credit to anyone who would go through all that. They would be a big advantage to both professions.
You know, when I used to live out in Portland, as a massage therapist, the clinic I used to deal with, we had 2 MDs, 2 naturopaths, a chiropractor, 3 massage therapists, and acupuncturists.
Wow, that's a good setup.
Yeah, it was a really nice setup. You know, it was and it wasn't territorial, which was really nice.
Yeah.
And so acupuncture, what can it not help?
Well, I've had some trouble with, well, it can help almost anything. There's no doubt about that. But there's cases I've run into where I haven't done as well. And those cases tend to be people who are on long-term prednisone use. It tends to deplete the system. And it's hard to get good responses with those people. People who are inebriated or on very heavy narcotics. I've had some success with people who are on pain medication. I've done really well with people who come in a lot of pain and pain medication with sciatic pain and stuff like that. But really long-term stuff, I work more towards an addiction point of view and work with the drugs themselves to try and get that pattern resolved. I'm working towards becoming better. Some people respond really well to rheumatoid arthritis, and other people are just really difficult. So acupuncture isn't a cure-all for everybody, but what I like to ask people to do is try 3 visits. Within 3 visits, you're going to really know the benefit of acupuncture. And usually within the first visit, you're going to feel good relief of whatever the syndrome of pain, or pain is one of the main things people originally come into me for. And then they say, well, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And there's a lot of things that we can work out. But if I can show people I can do something for them, then they trust me more.
So now I sort of set you up on that question because you're sitting saying what it doesn't work for. Because now I'm going to ask you, what do you see really good success with?
The best success I see is someone who comes in with nagging back, shoulder, knee, elbow pain, where they've, you know, it's the knee first off is not torn, ligaments totally in half. There's no way I can help. Well, I can help bring down the inflammation, but I can't
Make the ligament grow back.
Right. But for a sprain, for cartilage irritation, where the cartilage isn't torn and the knee isn't catching. And one nice advantage about the medicine tree is I have medical backup to find out if something's that I can't help. And that's a real advantage because we have physical therapy and we have medical people that I can check in with in a bad situation. But any kind of shoulder pain, neck pain, sciatica, headache, it's amazing how people have tried everything else and then all of a sudden, wow, I wish I'd have known about this a long time ago.
Well, yeah, this is the beginning of the school year. A lot of sports are just starting. So I get somebody in football who has a pinched nerve in their shoulder.
Wrestling is one of the things I've worked with little kids and medium-sized kids, junior high kids, football and other things. It's amazing how well we can get an acute injury to turn around. The Chinese have been dealing with acute injuries from sports because of martial arts, for an example, for years. And my teacher, the guy, I spent about 1.5 years studying with a guy who had about 20 years experience after I graduated from school. I spent working in his office and studying under him. And he was, or he still is, a 6-degree black belt and taught a lot of black belts and stuff. And in his dojo, they used to, they wouldn't teach a blow that could really hurt someone unless they taught them also how to treat that injury.
Really?
And so a lot of that knowledge he passed on to me, so when someone really got hurt, it's amazing how much quicker acupuncture will help bring it around. And I like, for sprained ankles and stuff like that, I like to work close with the physical therapist, because even though acupuncture will help that heal, the physical therapist can help that person build the strength up to help that, you know, because I play a role as helping someone to heal themselves, giving them the boost they need to get the body to heal itself, but also if we can help train that person to build the strength and put the energy into it they need to too, the recovery can be incredibly quick.
Well, there's a lot of wannabe runners in this valley. You know, example, Roy Big Crane. You know, I see him, I hear about him running up on the bench behind Dixon all the time, and you know, there's a lot of rough rocks up there, and I'm sure that the joints take a lot of stress.
And you know, one real advantage to acupuncture is a lot of doctors, or well, not just doctors, anybody might say, well, you're just going to have to stay off that injury for a while. Acupuncture tends to allow the athletes still to train more at the same time as resolving the injury.
So what about bursitis? I mean, that's, you know, I'm a massage therapist, and I run into a lot of bursitis. And massage doesn't help bursitis a huge amount, because it's inflamed down in the bursa. But I know acupuncture seems to be better, so give me a pitch there.
Okay, well, take shoulder, for example, or, well, anyway, that's a good one, it's handy. Bursitis can be from several points of view from a Chinese perspective. It can be from the fact that there's not enough circulation into that bursa, excuse me, and the bursa tends to dry out, get brittle, not nourish the shoulder enough. So what we do is bring circulation into it, lubricate it, take down the inflammation type of thing.
Okay.
Or it can just be plain inflamed from overuse, and there's points in the hand and different places you can use to bring that inflammation out.
Really? See, I see a lot of young pitchers that have that problem, where it's inflamed. You know it's inflamed, and so you can just transmit that downward. Or
yeah, and there's actually a pattern of pulling that bursa out of there, that bursitis out of there, that inflammation. And sometimes we'll even use electrical current attached to the needles to stimulate more circulation in that area and open up those tissues to allow fluids to go through the cell membranes more easily.
Okay. Well, how can this complement what my doctor's doing for me? I mean, I've blown an ankle out, I'm going to see my doctor, blank, 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 and you know, and I tell him I'm seeing my acupuncturist. How can I satisfy him that we're not going against what he's doing?
Well, for one thing, acupuncture isn't going to hurt the person, create any problems, really. I mean, by sticking a needle in there, I'm not going to hurt what the doctor's already doing to that person. So acupuncture won't hurt regardless. And I really enjoy working with doctors because they may give a muscle relaxer or some other medication to help them, and at the same time I can work on more speedy recovery on that ankle itself. And I really appreciate the opportunity to show what I can do. And many doctors are very receptive.
They're starting to network more and more. I hear it all the time.
Right.
I mean, which is great. So, I heard you earlier talking about the Chinese herbs. How are they different from American herbs?
A lot of the herbs aren't any different at all. For
They
example,
speak different.
yeah, like peppermint or a licorice, or a lot of the herbs are used all over. The Chinese have a different approach to the herbs, though. Instead of one herb, one problem, they tend to put the herbs in combination. They started, some of the herbal writings are around the time of the birth of Christ, and they pass onward. And a lot of the herbs, they mixed in combinations, and the herbs work together synergistically to go to a specific part of the body, or for a specific problem, or to nourish the body in a specific way, using these flows, for example, and specific ways of nourishing and building and strengthening the body. So for like menopausal symptoms, we have an herbal combination that helps herbs that specifically go to nourish the blood and strengthen the hormonal metabolism of the woman, and so that it gets rid of the sweats and the problems, like night sweats and other problems go like that through nourishment.
All right. Well, we're starting to wind down here, so let me ask you probably one last question. People out there are sitting there thinking, what does this cost and will my insurance pay for it?
That's always a big one, and I try to keep treatments as low as possible because a lot of people have to pay out of pocket. The insurance companies, we're working with them more and more. Private policies are, in the state of Montana, supposed to pay. Nonprofits and self-insured are exempt, but they're paying more and more because of the good results it gets, and workman's comp is paying more and more, especially with a referral of the primary physician that person starts out with. So at the Medicine Tree, we have a good billing department, and they're working more and more with people on helping them get what insurance options they have. They'll set up payment. It costs $50 for first treatment and $40 for any treatment after that. And I spend a whole hour or more with that person working out and getting everything we need. So I really try to give them good value for that treatment and give them that much in results. And some of the medications for a migraine headache end up costing at least that much. It's amazing.
Oh, easy. Thank you very much. So, well, Monty, I want to thank you for coming aboard.
It's such a treat to be here.
It's been my pleasure, but I have one last question.
Okay.
Is it true that acupuncturists walk on their hands when people aren't watching?
I hope to be that strong.
All right. Well, Monty, again, I want to thank you for coming aboard today. I hope this was a learning tool for people out there who may have answered some of their questions. And
can I say one thing?
Yeah, one last thing.
If anybody has any questions about any treatments or anything, feel free to call me. If I'm not at my phone, I'll call you back as soon as I can, or if you can catch me between patients, I'm more than happy to visit with you, explain what I can, and describe anything you want to deal with.
Okay, so they can call you at 745-3600.
Yes, sir.
And you will get back with them. Again, Monty, thank you. And for those out there in TV land, thank you for watching today, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Good Medicine is your program. We hope you watch this and subsequent programs to stay informed about your health care. And we'd like to hear from you about how we're doing. Please direct any comments or suggestions you have to us. You can reach us at